Welcome to the Mesonet Weather Report. I'm Wes Lee. Last week was pretty much a bust for rainfall, at least as of Wednesday afternoon. The 7-day rainfall map shows just a trace of rain, mostly in the western counties. This lack of rain and some incredibly warm afternoons started to take a toll on the soil moisture levels. Our fractional water index maps quickly gives us a picture of the state's soil moisture reserves. At the shallowest depth of 2 inches under a sod cover, we see most of the state with a green 0.9 or even 1s, indicating good moisture levels. However, in the far west, soils are much drier, going all the way down to 0 at Goodwell, which is as dry as a sensor can read. At 4 inches, things remain about the same, but with slightly better soil moisture reserves in the eastern 2/3 of the state. Dropping down to 10 inches, we start to see more yellows on the map and an expansion of the drier red areas in the west. At our deepest sensor sites, it shows the effects of our persistent, longer-term drought areas. Lots of red zeros and 0.1s that travel all the way across the northern half of the state. I hope the soil moisture continues to hold on until our next major rain event. Now here's Gary with a focus on the 30-day rainfall maps.
Thanks, Wes, and good morning, everyone. Well, the drought monitor map held steady this week. It didn't get better, but it also didn't get worse, so maybe that's a good thing. Let's take a look at that map and see where we're at. Well, we still have the areas of long-term drought down in far southwestern Oklahoma, up in far north-central, northeastern Oklahoma. In between there, we did get the relief last week on the map. The only area of concern is a little bit up in far northwest Oklahoma. I'll show you that in a minute, where we do have another dry spell coming on. So let's get straight to that map. We can see here from the days, consecutive days at least, without a 1/4 inch of rainfall in a single day from the Oklahoma Mesonet. We're coming up on about 2 months up there in parts of northwest Oklahoma. Woods, Harper County, Woodward County, over into Beaver County. And then you get out into the western 2/3 of the Panhandle and you see we're above a month. So again, another growing dry spell. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a full-blown drought up there, but we will certainly keep our eyes on that part of the state. That definitely shows up on the 30-day rainfall map from the Mesonet. You can see lots of good totals down across the southeastern 2/3 of the state. Once you get up into the northwest, however, you get totals less than 2 inches, and then totals less than 1 inch. And then out in the Panhandle, some areas with no rain at all over that 30-day period. And if you look at that percent of normal rainfall over that same time frame, you can definitely see in those oranges and yellows and reds areas that are less than 50%, and in some cases less than 25% of normal rainfall. So again, an area of concern. These are, especially up in northwest Oklahoma, they did have a lot of rain previous this summer, but we do need to keep the rainfall coming back in that region so we don't get, as I said, back to full-blown drought. Not much help on the way next week, at least. If you look at the outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center, for much of next week, we see increased odds of above normal temperatures, which does not help drought, of course. And then we also see increased odds of below normal precipitation. That's not really that big of a deal. That can change over in a hurry. But we don't want to see that extreme heat this time of year to increase that evaporation and possibly make that drought accelerate even more. So we do want a pattern change, especially for that northwestern 1/3 of the state. They could use a good rainfall. Everybody could use rain, of course, but especially that part of the state. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.